Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer.
I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, unprecedented move breaking overnight. The FBI searches former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida in relation to government documents and National Archives material. NBC News has learned from a source familiar with the situation. This morning, the latest on what we're learning about the investigation and how Trump is responding. Burning up from coast to coast, more than 40 million Americans are under heat alerts this morning. We're tracking just who could see relief from this heat wave as early as tomorrow and where temperatures could reach triple digits this week. Plus, the serious threat of torrential downpours and flooding in areas already hard hit, including eastern Kentucky. Major test. For the first time in 2 decades, scientists are testing a vaccine to prevent Lyme disease. With temperatures rising, ticks are becoming a growing problem. So how could this vaccine ease concerns? Everything you need to know about this potentially game-changing shot, like when we could see it rolled out. And name brand or generic, more people are trying to save money by ditching name brand products and going with the store brand. But could you be sacrificing the good taste for the price? We'll introduce you to the taste testers that will give you some food for thought. We might be turning you into one as well.
I get second breakfast this morning. I'm very excited.
It's a fun one, actually. The piece is interesting. It's a good look, and you actually can save quite a bit of money.
All right.
So I'll bring you that a little bit later. We begin, though, this hour with the latest on the FBI search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida.
A source familiar with the situation tells NBC News that when agents descended on Trump's Florida home with a search warrant in hand, their search was tied to classified information Trump allegedly took from the White House during the final weeks of his presidency. NBC News senior national correspondent Kerry Sanders is there with the latest.
Overnight, supporters gathering outside former President Donald Trump's private club Mar-a-Lago. Trump in New York, departing Trump Tower and ignoring questions from reporters.
Mr. Trump, can we get your reaction to the raid, sir?
In a statement issued just before 7 o'clock Monday night, Mr. Trump said Mar-a-Lago was under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents, claiming it was unannounced and portraying himself as the victim of political persecution, adding, "They even broke into my safe." According to a source familiar with the search, it was related to classified information the former president allegedly took with him to Mar-a-Lago after leaving the White House. In February, the National Archives announced that classified material was discovered in 15 boxes of White House records stored at the estate, referring the matter to the Justice Department. Eric Trump says he told his father about the search.
To have 30 FBI agents, actually more than that, descend on Mar-a-Lago, give absolutely, no notice, go through the gate, start ransacking an office, ransacking a closet. They broke into a safe. He didn't even have anything in the safe.
Republicans overnight criticizing the search. Senator Lindsey Graham writing, launching such an investigation of a former president this close to an election is beyond problematic. The Justice Department is also pursuing a separate investigation into January 6th. Last month, Attorney General Merrick Garland telling Lester Holt that an election would not affect their efforts.
So if Donald Trump were to become a candidate for president again, that would not change your schedule or how you move forward or don't move forward?
I'll say again that we will hold accountable anyone who was criminally responsible for attempting to interfere with the legitimate, lawful transfer of power from one administration to the next.
Our thanks to Kerry Sanders for that report. The White House also said yesterday it did not have advance notice of the search, and it's referring all questions right now to the DOJ.
Let's now bring in NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney in for more. Ken, good to see you. So walk us through how the FBI would be able to obtain this search warrant to gain access to Mar-a-Lago, not a subpoena or something like that. What does it tell us about the level of probable cause the FBI had here to go and search a former president's residence?
Good morning, Savannah. So the FBI would have had to fill out an affidavit and give it to a judge. Now, that's sealed, so we haven't seen the details. But we know that the FBI would have had to convince that judge that there was probable cause to believe there was evidence of a crime inside that compound and that this search was the only way to get it. So it suggests that something seriously broke down in the negotiations between the National Archives and Donald Trump about the recovery of these records. And this isn't just any target of a search warrant. This is the former president. So, as people have been saying on our air all day, this would have been the most fly-spec search warrant in the history of the FBI. It almost certainly was approved at the highest levels by Attorney General Merrick Garland. And given the history of the FBI's troubles in the Trump-Russia investigation, recall that one FBI lawyer went to prison for falsifying information on a Pfizer warrant, you can be sure that this got incredible scrutiny, that there are no spelling mistakes in this warrant, there are no punctuation errors. This thing was about as scrutinized as any warrant could possibly be.
So, Ken, we should be clear. We don't know that Trump is actually the target of any kind of investigation. But if Trump does become the main focus of an investigation here into the mishandling of classified documents, where could that lead? And also, what might that mean when it comes to a possible presidential run in 2024?
Well, Joe, it's a good point you made up top. There may not even be a criminal investigation here. It may just be that the FBI wanted their classified documents back, and now they've got them. So that's one scenario. Another scenario, there are statutes that make it illegal for government officials to take home classified documents, and people have gone to prison for doing that over the years. And there's even one statute that says if you're convicted of doing this, removing government documents, you are barred from holding public office. Obviously, that's getting a lot of attention. It's not clear that that statute could pass a constitutional challenge, but it could have major implications for Donald Trump's potential future presidential runs, as could any, serious criminal charges against him. But, we have a long way to go before we see whether that's going to happen, Joe.
And Ken, just put in perspective how unprecedented it is to see FBI agents searching the home of a former president.
It's absolutely jaw-dropping, Savannah. We got to be careful because these searches are secret, but what nobody I've talked to has ever heard of anything like this happening before. It's believed that this is the first time, the government has gone and conducted a search of a former president's home. And it just suggests, again, an extraordinary breakdown here, that they couldn't just get the documents by asking for them nicely or even issuing a subpoena, a legal demand. They had to go, and they didn't break down the door. This wasn't a raid. The FBI told the Secret Service they were coming. But the point of a search warrant is they had that authority if they needed it, which makes it such a remarkable step at the home of an ex-president.
Ken, any idea how this search could possibly influence the January 6th committee's investigation into any criminal wrongdoing by former President Trump?
That's a great question. And we can't rule out that this search had nothing to do with the January 6th criminal investigation. We just don't know. It's possible. And in fact, if the FBI saw any evidence of other crimes in the home, even if they weren't looking for them, it's within their rights to seize them. But I would say that it creates a climate. This dramatic step has already been taken. So one of the issues with the January 6th investigation is, is it proper to investigate and prosecute a former president? Attorney General Merrick Garland is weighing these very weighty questions. Is it good for the democracy, bad for the democracy? Well, you've already had a raid of the former president's home. So it kind of, it makes the public sort of accustomed now to the idea that there's serious legal action targeting the former president. And I think it makes it easier for the FBI to do that again or take other steps, guys.
All right, Ken Delaney, thanks for kicking us off on this breaking news.
All right, with temperatures reaching triple digits again in some parts of the country today, let's get a check on your morning news now. Weather.
Meteorologist Michelle Grossman is with us. Hey, Michelle.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, we're looking at triple digits once again from the northwest to the northeast. At least it's going to feel like the triple digits in the northeast, but we do have some change on the way. Not today, though. We're looking at 44 million people impacted by a heat advisory. In the northwest, Spokane, you're looking at temperatures into the 90s as well. And as we look towards the northeast, we're looking at Boston, Philadelphia, D.C., all along the I-95 corridor. We're looking at temperatures into the 90s. You factor in the humidity. It's been so high. It's going to continue to be high today. Tomorrow and also Thursday, it's going to feel like over 100 degrees in many spots along the northeast. So Baltimore, you're included there. Temperatures into the 90s, but we do have some change in the air. So we have cooler air coming down from Canada. We have a very slow-moving cold front. It will move through, but it's going to move through slowly. First, we're going to see the temperatures knock down tomorrow in the northeast, and then the humidity by Friday. So we're looking at a really beautiful weekend in the northeast with low dew points, temperatures in the low 80s. Today, though, it's another hot one, 94 in New York City. It's going to feel like 100 degrees. It'll feel like 103 in D.C. this afternoon, and it will feel like 101 in Raleigh. But then by tomorrow, we're looking at temperatures feeling like the 80s in some spots. We're going to be into the mid-80s in New York City, 84 on Wednesday, 84 on Thursday, and Friday, 81 degrees. That's going to continue into the weekend. Notice Cleveland into the 70s by Thursday and Friday. Chicago, also same story. Charleston, West Virginia, we're looking at temperatures into the upper 70s as well. Not so lucky in the Northwest. We're looking at temperatures into the 90s in lots of spots. It's going to hold on Thursday and also Friday. Cooler by the coast, though. So if you're looking at Seattle, looking pretty nice today with temperatures in the 70s, 80s by tomorrow. We're also watching this very closely. A major weather story, a flood threat today in eastern Kentucky. We could see 3 to 5 inches in some spots. And this is going to continue into tomorrow, guys, because we're looking at rounds of rain along that cold front that's going to bring the relief. But first, it's going to bring those storms along these areas. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much.
Sure.
Now, members of the House will return to Washington this week to take up that sweeping bipartisan economic and climate bill, which just passed along party lines in the Senate. It's one of many issues facing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She spoke with today's Savannah Guthrie just moments ago in her first interview since that controversial trip to Taiwan. Here are some of the highlights.
There are reasons to take a trip like that, but as you well know, especially with foreign policy, national security, it often comes down to trade-offs and timing. Was it worth it now that you see the response? China has taken...
Absolutely, without any question.
Okay, because China has made a series of stunningly aggressive military moves in Taiwan. I mean, unprecedented in terms of the security of Taiwan. Was it worth it to make this trip now if that was the response from China?
I have overwhelming bipartisan support for our visit to Taiwan. As Speaker of the House and with the distinguished delegation that I went there with, we were very well received, thousands of people in the streets, received by the President of Taiwan, buildings with big welcoming to us. The people of Taiwan welcomed the visit. The Chinese government may not have, but China will not be allowed to isolate Taiwan. But a couple months ago, a delegation went from the Senate. It was bipartisan. It was high-powered, including the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Nobody said a word. Nobody said a word. Did you even know about that trip? So I'm not going to, again, as a supporter of democracy in China, but this is about democracy in Taiwan. We cannot allow the Chinese government to isolate Taiwan. They may say to them, you can't go to the World Health Organization, but they're not going to say who can go to Taiwan. And yes, it was worth it. And what the Chinese are doing is what they usually do.
Even if it's on the Chinese, I think the administration is clear that, you know, whatever crisis is upon us now, it is the Chinese who are the instigators of this crisis. That said, was it not foreseeable that they would react this way? And on the issue of timing, this comes at the very moment that the Biden administration is trying to work with China to hold off China from rearming Putin in Ukraine. So as you well know, there are multiple levels of chess here. So the question is whether a symbolic trip, important as it may be, in any way undermines some of those other also quite important objectives that the administration has.
Well, it may appear to be symbolic to you, but it was very substantial to us, for us to listen to the people in the region about our full agenda, but also not to say we're not going to Taiwan because the Chinese may act up. The president, as is his responsibility, is usually in touch with the Chinese about one thing or another, whether it's climate, and I think we have to work with China on the subject of climate.
But that does not give them license. Since your visit. I guess that's the point.
What dialogue were you aware of that they were having on climate? They have been shutting down on many things. So, again, this thing of, but they were going to be doing this and they were going to be doing that. Let's just say this is not something that should be dividing us. We are not going to let China isolate Taiwan. And if they can ignore a trip of 5 senators in a bipartisan way, why would they decide on my trip that it would be different. It's only a matter of months. And even about a few weeks before we went, a Republican senator went to Taiwan. So again, there's something wrong with this picture. And I'm used to taking the barbs about the men think it's this or that, but a woman goes, and it's a woman president of Taiwan. We are so proud of her. We want to support her courage. And every place I went, we were invited to go. So it is a question of what they think is important to them rather than some again, a very strong bipartisan support for the trip. But you know what? Why don't we just show China that we support Taiwan? It is part of the Taiwan Relations Act. We didn't go there to change our policy. We still support the one China policy. We go there to acknowledge the status quo is what our policy is. There was nothing disruptive about that.
Now, Speaker Pelosi also mentioned that she will hold a press conference tomorrow with the other members of the delegation that visited Taiwan to talk about their reception.
This morning, we're remembering Olivia Newton-John, the iconic singer and actress who entertained and inspired us for decades. She died at a ranch in Southern California Monday at the age of 73. For years, she had battled breast cancer, never letting her diagnosis interfere with her unending optimism. In the musical Grease, Sandy transforms from virtuous cheerleader to stiletto-heeled bad girl.
Tell me about it, stud.
An impressive range that would define Olivia Newton-John's career.
I honestly love you.
Able to sweetly sing a ballad like I Honestly Love You. Belt disco tunes in the roller skating fantasy Xanadu. Or turn heads with a sultry makeover in the video for Physical, Billboard's #1 song of the 1980s. Born in England and raised in Australia, her first big break came in the 70s with the song Let Me Be There. It won a Grammy, the first of 4 in her career. Then lightning struck, greased lightning.
It turned cold, that's where it ends.
At 29 years old, Newton-John was initially hesitant to play a teenager, but co-star John Travolta helped convince her they go together. In a career that spanned 5 decades, she sold more than 100 million records worldwide, a legacy that in 2014 brought her to Vegas for a residency, where I asked, what's her favorite song?
It's like having a bunch of kids. I don't think you can pick a favorite. You might have a special one that day that's behaving really well.
Her legacy is much more than music. 1992, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, a disease that returned 2 more times. She created a wellness and research center in her name, calling herself a cancer thriver.
Cancer can engulf your mind and engulf your being, and I try not to live my life with that in my mind all the time. I live beyond it. I love beyond it. I sing beyond it. And I want that for everybody.
Among the many tributes now pouring in, this from Travolta. You made all of our lives so much better. Your impact was incredible. I love you so much. You're Danny. You're John. And Olivia's daughter, Chloe, posted a series of touching photos with her mom taken over the years. Family, friends, and fans now more than ever, hopelessly devoted. As you saw in the story there, I had the pleasure of meeting Olivia Newton-John about 8 years ago. Here we are right after that interview. Anyone who spoke with her at NBC News, and she talked with us many times over the years, just had only the kindest things to say about her. She was truly what you saw is exactly what you got with her. She was just a light. She would always, I guess, sign her messages, light and love, Olivia. Well. In addition to her work on screen, she was also known for that very public battle with cancer. She was a vocal advocate for plant-based treatments and really for what you heard it there, building a life outside of the disease. Yes, you have to fight the disease, but you can also focus on your family, your mental health, and other things that just make your life better.
Yeah, I love how she said live beyond it and love beyond it.
Exactly.
Pretty amazing. She'll be so missed.
She will.
Yeah, great look back. Thanks, Joe. Welcome back. Let's get to that new announcement from social media app Snapchat. This morning, the company is unveiling new parental tools.
NBC senior national correspondent Kate Snow got a preview, and she's here with more. Hey, Kate, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So you guys know Snap has been around for a decade now, and the company says they have 99 million people who use the app every day in North America. That includes a whole lot of teenagers. The platform has added safety features in the past, for example, making teen profiles automatically private, rules around how adults can connect with teens, but they've never had tools specifically for parents until today.
For millions of teens, Snapchat is the way they communicate with a group of friends. This morning, the company's giving parents a window into that world.
We have a responsibility to make sure teens are safe and healthy on Snapchat.
Nona Faranick-Yadigar is the director of platform policy and social impact at Snapchat. Starting today, parents and teens between 13 and 18 can opt in to what they call the Family Center.
Both the parent and the teen have to opt into this, right?
Yeah, the parent immediately gets access to the teen's friends list, the people the teen has communicated with over the last 7 days, and new friends that the teen has made as well.
Parents will see the screen names of who their kids are friends with, but not what they're saying to each other. Faranick-Yadigar says it's meant to be like real life.
If your teen has friends over in the basement to play video games, you should know who they're down there playing video games with, but you wouldn't be, sitting in the room listening to their conversation. And so we really wanted to balance, parental insight into their teen's life while really preserving autonomy and privacy for the teen themselves.
I can imagine some parents saying, well, you're actually giving my teen too much privacy. You're weighing their privacy more than my parental need to see what they're doing.
I would disagree with the notion that we're really tilting in one way or the other. And I think what we're really trying to do is bring a real world sensibility into online life. Here, you're able to report.
If a parent has concerns about someone their teen is connected to, they can report the account, and Snapchat says it will respond quickly. Snapchat says they've been developing these new tools for more than a year, consulting with parents and safety groups like Protect Young Eyes. Chris McKenna is the founder and dad of 4.
What's the headline for you in these new parental tools on Snapchat?
The headline goes like this: great job, it's about time, and there's more to do.
Teens are going to be able to opt into this family center. Do you think they will?
There's the conversation that needs to take place, right? Between parents and young people. I like that feature because I think it forces parents to talk to their kids. If a child says no, okay, that's worthy of a conversation. Why not?
Snapchat has existed since 2012, 10 years. Why didn't you do this sooner?
Family Center has been on the roadmap for a long time. We wanted to be really thoughtful about bringing out tools that would be useful, but also diligent and thoughtful. And I'm really excited to bring them into the world.
So if you're wondering if teens could just say yes to Family Center on one account that their parent is linked to and then create a different account that they really use with their friends, Snapchat says their users don't typically create multiple accounts because you can't be logged in to more than one account at a time. But they also say they're going to monitor to see if that starts happening. In the future, Snapchat also says it's going to add more tools for parents, including content controls, guys, which are meant to stop teens from seeing things that the parent thinks are inappropriate.
Well, that's definitely a bigger step than they've taken before.
It is. It is. And, they're following a lot of other social media apps who took steps, who added parental tools before they did. But they say they wanted to be intentional about it and really research and get the tools right.
Yeah. And wow, 10 years of Snapchat. All right, Kate.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah. Kate Snow, thank you so much.
Okay. To international headlines now, and new developments for that first grain shipment from Ukraine since the start of the war.
Yeah, Morgan Chesky joins us now from Zaporizhia in southeastern Ukraine with that and more. Hey, Morgan, good morning.
Hey, Josephina, good morning. And this is a highly anticipated move. And we know that first grain shipment is in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea right now after departing the Ukrainian port city of Odessa. And it's carrying 26,000 tons of grain. The Ukrainian embassy in Lebanon says that its buyer refused to accept the cargo, though, citing a 5-month delay. Of course, that's war-related. The crop was supposed to arrive in Lebanon on Sunday, and now officials are looking for another buyer. Meanwhile, moving on now to Taiwan, which has begun its its own live fire drills following several days of drills by China. Speculations have been growing over China's plans of a possible invasion. This, of course, is happening just 1 week after U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's controversial visit to Taipei. And we end in Amsterdam today, where thousands of people gathered to celebrate the return of the city's Pride Canal Parade. After 2 years of cancellations, eager spectators lined up to watch the 25th version of the popular event. This year's theme was My Gender, My Pride, and showcased decorated boats and rainbow flags. Amsterdam, of course, very popular for its endless canals. If you were to combine all of them together, guys, more than 60 miles of canals just in Amsterdam alone. Unbelievable.
Morgan filled with fun facts today. I also bet that is a really fun pride. So.
Yeah. And it's so cool that it's on the canals.
Yeah, no
very
kidding.
neat. All right, Morgan, thank you.
Now to South America and the historic inauguration of Colombia's newest president, Gustavo Petro. The former guerrilla fighter was sworn in as the country's first ever leftist president. NBC News correspondent Gadi Schwartz looks at his rise to power.
Colombia has a new president, former guerrilla fighter Gustavo Petro.
Juro a Dios y prometo al pueblo cumplir fielmente la Constitución y las leyes de Colombia.
Thousands gathered in Bogota to welcome Colombia's first ever leftist president on Sunday. With music and dance, but under heavy security. President Petro promising unity and progress to a country long haunted by violence and inequality.
Pero convocamos también a todos los armados a dejar las armas en las nebulosas del pasado.
Accompanied by other Latin American leaders, his wife and 5 children, the now president lifted his right fist in the air to the cheers of his supporters.
Juro a Dios.
Vice President Francia Marquez also making history as the first Afro-Colombian woman to hold that office.
Que confiamos en él, en el cambio, que sé que le va a tocar duro, pero estamos ahí apoyándolo.
Nearly 40% of Colombians live in poverty, and as they grapple with joblessness and rising violence, more than half were motivated to cast a ballot.
Hoy es la última vez que me dirijo a ustedes en calidad de presidente de la República.
Petro is preceded by 33 consecutive right-wing administrations, including that of former President Iván Duque. The political shift signaling a new era for U.S. foreign policy in Latin America.
La guerra contra las drogas ha fracasado rotundamente.
Colombia's decades-long armed conflict, worsened by the drug trade, taking center stage. Petro once belonged to a rebel group known as M19 that eventually became its own political party. And while it operated as a guerrilla organization, Petro was jailed for 2 years. Since then, the 62-year-old has been a representative, senator, and twice mayor of the capital, Bogota. The celebration extending to Venezuela.
Mis felicitaciones a Colombia, a Gustavo Petro.
The Petro administration promising to open up diplomatic pathways with neighboring Venezuela and is planning on sending an ambassador to Caracas, a plan heavily criticized by the previous administration and the U.S. government.
Los colombianos y todas las colombianas que me están escuchando en esta Plaza de Bolívar, en los alrededores, en toda Colombia y en el exterior, que hoy empieza nuestra segunda oportunidad.
Thanks to Gadi Schwartz there. Now, Petro's presidency is a polarizing one. He comes in as the country is deeply divided over socioeconomic issues, its relationship with Venezuela, and the migrant crisis across the Americas. Colombia now joins other countries with left-wing governments like Chile, Mexico, and Peru, shifting the political landscape of Latin America once again.
Welcome back. Pfizer has announced a potential major breakthrough in the push for a new Lyme disease vaccine.
The drug company says it has started a late-stage clinical trial, one of the last steps before a vaccine actually hits the market. If successful, it could be the first Lyme disease vaccine available to the U.S. in nearly 20 years. NBC News senior medical correspondent Dr. John Torres joins us now here on set with more on this. So let's talk about this shot. First of all, why was the previous one discontinued? And then with this new shot, what should we know about it? Is it something we'd have to have annually, like a flu shot? How would it work?
And that was interesting because the other shot was approved in 1998. They took it off the market in 2002 because there was no demand for it. They simply were only giving like 10,000 shots a year. They thought they'd give over 1 million. And the demand wasn't there because Lyme disease was not that big a deal 20 years ago. And now it has just kind of exploded across the country. And so this one here, they're looking at, there are 6,000 people across the world, ages 5 and up, this clinical trial, phase 3. What they're finding out now is that it looks like it's very safe and it's going to be effective, but it's a 3-shot regime over 5 to 9 months, and then a year later you're going to have to get another shot, and probably yearly boosters, kind of like the flu shot.
So, I mean, anybody in theory could get a tick, where you often get this Lyme disease from, but are there certain people who are sort of at higher risk for Lyme disease? Who would qualify for this shot, and who would you recommend get it?
Well, it's like we always talk about. Those that are immunocompromised need to be more worried about something like this because it could certainly affect them to a certain degree more, but also those that live in areas where Lyme disease is more prevalent, and that has increased across the country. It used to be just remote parts of the Northeast. Now it's the Northeast, the upper Midwest. You can even see it on the North Coast a bit. Even in Colorado, where I live, we had no Lyme disease, and now we're talking about 8 cases a year. Not much, but it's encroaching into the area. And so if you live in one of those areas that's endemic, Lyme disease is there, then you want to be extra careful. And those are the ones they're specifically targeting for this vaccine.
Checking for ticks can be easier said than done sometimes. So remind us the best ways to do a self-examination, and what are the symptoms we should be watching out for Lyme?
So the best ways to do a self-examination is anytime you're outdoors, when you come back in, you, your children, and your pets, don't forget them because they can bring a tick in the house as well. You want to check, just while you take a shower, check all those areas that you normally don't check into. And think about climbing, because ticks like to climb. So if they get on your leg, they'll climb up into the crotch area. If they get in your body, they'll climb up into the armpit area. So just check for those. If you see anything, have somebody else look at it. Look in your hair as well. Same with kids and same with pets. The symptoms to look for, fevers, chills, headaches, body aches, those typical things we talk about. The big key here is that rash. It's called a target lesion or a bullseye rash, and it looks like a bullseye. It's red with a red center on it as well. If you see that, that's very typical for Lyme disease. You want to make sure you get it checked out.
So unfortunately, though, a lot of times with ticks, they'll even be, in your scalp or something where you couldn't see that rash. That's happened to me before. If you are thinking, hey, I'm feeling a little off, I was somewhere where there is a high rate of ticks, what should you do? If you go to your doctor, can they tell you right away, yes, you've got this?
Well, they can't tell you right away, but they can do a test to see if you had Lyme disease. And more than likely, if you're in an area, if they can see a rash like that, if you have the symptoms, they'll probably start you on antibiotics, because Lyme disease is one of the things that you want to treat early on, because once it becomes chronic, it's much, much harder to treat, and it can turn into, unfortunately, a lifelong chronic illness. So you want to be careful with this.
Yeah, and good to know that you can get on antibiotics right away. All right, Dr. John, thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Let's get to some financial headlines this hour. And the U.S. Treasury Department is banning cryptocurrency platform after accusations of laundering stolen crypto.
CNBC's Courtney Reagan joins us with that and more money headlines. Courtney, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, so the Treasury Department is blacklisting a crypto platform, Tornado Cash, accusing it of laundering more than $7 billion in virtual currency. That includes $455 million allegedly stolen by a hacking collective in North Korea. Tornado Cash is a so-called mixer platform, which allows users to exchange cryptocurrencies with relative anonymity. The Biden administration and law enforcement say they're concerned these platforms could be used for corruption, money laundering, and to finance terrorism. WhatsApp is adding new privacy options. The messaging app, which is owned by Meta Platforms, is launching an option for users to privately use the app without being visible online. So they'll be able to choose which contacts can see their online status while hiding it from others. WhatsApp also testing screenshot blocking for view once messages, which disappear after being opened a single time. Another change will allow users to leave groups privately without sending out one of those awkward mass notifications that you've left. And Krispy Kreme has a sweet deal to help us forget about the pain at the pump. Every Wednesday from now through Labor Day, the chain is offering a dozen original glazed donuts for the price of a gallon of gas. The price will be determined by the national average for regular unleaded, listed on AAA's website every Monday. Not every Krispy Kreme is taking part in the promotion. You must specifically ask for the Beat the Pump dozen. And there's a limit of 2 orders per customer. Back over to you.
We call that gain at the pump, as in weight gain.
There you go.
Yeah, for real. All right, Courtney, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's keep the food theme going. Now to an age-old debate that has divided American households for decades. Name brand or generic?
Now, some families may be more inclined to go with the brand name, but with Americans facing record inflation and sky-high prices, some shoppers are buying the store brand of their favorite foods instead. But the big question, does it taste the same?
A
Up and down the supermarket aisles, shoppers are looking to save a quick buck.
If it's cheaper and it's the same thing, then why wouldn't I buy it?
With prices of groceries up 12% in the last year, more and more people are ditching brand names for generic store products.
Most things like, let's say, a bag of chips or mac and cheese. Are you totally cool with the store brand?
Every time.
Yeah.
There are a couple things that I don't do store brand for, like Heinz ketchup and things like that. But I think that the savings you're getting is not worth the taste.
Sure, they're saving money, but at what price? We headed to the sensory lab at Ohio State University, where Professor Chris Simons runs taste tests for major companies.
But the idea is to get consumer feedback as companies are developing products to see how well products are liked, how they're preferred over potential competitors. Okay, ready? Yes. All right.
We asked them to test 4 common brand name products against their store-made counterparts. 33 volunteers took part.
I like the way these look, but these definitely taste better.
The samples are prepared in a kitchen, then sent through a trapdoor to the participants. First up, potato chips.
Tasted almost a little like they've been out for a while.
Oh, so we have a clear favorite.
Yeah.
$2.69, the winner.
The verdict? 48% of respondents preferred Lay's original chips, while 36% preferred the Target version. Virtually a toss-up. Next came cereal.
Everyone has their own different opinion.
You went right for a smell.
Yeah. So you can tell this one's a bit more dry.
Okay.
It's a bit more bland than the first one.
Here, Cheerios was the clear winner, preferred by 70% compared to just 12% picking the Walmart brand. Then came peanut butter.
I'm trying to see like what's the nutty flavor of it. I think I do like this one more. Okay. 568. But they're both good.
39% preferred Giant Eagle's store brand compared to 36% for Jif, a virtual tie.
So go ahead and hit next.
I joined for the next part of testing.
This is the feel thing.
This is the feel thing. That's right.
Which facial tissue would get my vote?
Okay, soft.
Yeah, all right. Feel different?
Oh.
So normally you wouldn't sort of necessarily be aware of those kind of dramatic differences, right? But when you have these sort of paired...
Yeah, this one is way softer.
Okay.
All right,
so you have a preference? $4.91. Yeah.
Kleenex, the resounding winner. 67% preferred their tissues, while only 18% picked Target's version. The testers were surprised to learn how they voted.
Cereal, name brand.
Knew it.
You went Cheerios.
Yeah, all the way.
Peanut butter. Generic.
Really?
There you go.
No way.
Yeah.
So are we conditioned to like certain brands more than others?
Let's say Coca-Cola, right? It has a very unique flavor profile that's different from Pepsi, that's different from some of the generic brands. You know, I'm going to continue to buy that because that's the profile that I like.
But at the end of the day, researchers say the differences may be little to non-existent.
Yeah, so in often cases for generic brands, it's still the name brand that's making them, right? So they're just slapping a different label on it when it comes out of the end of the pipe.
A little food for thought next time you visit the grocery store.
All right, let's bring in Kevin Kim, a second-year PhD student at Ohio State University studying texture and mouthfeel of plant-based foods. Also a regular taste tester there in that lab. You just saw him in that piece. Kevin, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us live this morning. So I know
Thanks for having me.
You got it. So I know when we talked, when I was there with you at Ohio State, you told me, I mean, picking snacks for America is a big responsibility. First, I just want to know what made you start to do this, and then what are the qualities of a good taste tester? How can you determine between the two, which is better?
So I actually started back in Canada. So I'm from Canada. So I did my master's in texture studies, working on apples. So that's how I kind of got started, actually getting into the sensory space, getting into this texture space. And basically from there, I came to Ohio State to pursue my PhD. And I'm here working here with Dr. Simons. And then basically to be a good taste tester, you just got to be confident. You know, a lot of times there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what you're perceiving. So as long as you're confident, that's all that really matters.
You seem very confident. I love how you study mouth feel. That's like amazing. All right. So what is the best thing you've ever taste tested?
So for 2 years, I was studying apples. So I've got to try apples that have never reached the market. Some of these apples are very different. Some of them are extremely mealy. Some of them are extremely grassy. I've tasted basically lots of tomatoes too. And I've tasted one that was pretty much all smoke. It literally tasted like smoke that you were at a barbecue, even though it was just grown on the vine. It was wild.
Wow, that's crazy. I know also when we were together, you told me that you got to even try burgers in that lab, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Really cool. Also, I don't know if you just noticed that, how articulate he is with the flavor profile. I told him you should be a somm or something.
Because he studies mouthfeel.
Yeah, I told him you should be a somm, and he goes, yeah, for cereal. Has to do with vegetarian.
Cereal somm.
Okay, Kevin, here on set, I'm not sure if you can see this. We have 2 bowls. Okay, I know which one is Lay's and which one is the store brand.
Okay.
Joe does not, so we're going to have him do a test, okay? But I want you to tell him first, because when we were there, you were good about looking, smelling. So what would you recommend Joe do first here?
So I actually have some potato chips here as well. So the first thing you want to do is looking at how even they are, the coloring of it. Is it too burnt? Is it yellow? Is it pale? So the visual is very important. That's your first cue.
Looks like a potato chip.
You have to look at it next to the other brand.
Yeah. And the next thing you want to do is kind of maybe even smell it. Some of them have a more like oily smell. Some of them have a more potato smell.
This one's potato-y.
To look at it. Yeah, potato-y, good. And then put it in your mouth. And then once you put it in your mouth, there's a couple of things you're going to be looking for. First thing is you're going to be looking for is think about the texture. And really try to like hone in on difference in texture. Is it crispy? Is it soft? Is it hard?
Soft.
Is it oily?
I mean, for potato chip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now do I have to do the next one right after that, or is there like something I should do in between?
No,
right.
you were good at palate cleansing, Kevin. You're very responsible.
Yes.
Maybe take a
So do you have some water with you or any kind of
coffee?
No,
never mind.
No, yeah. Let's not do that. Can I dip it in coffee? Will that how that work? All right, I'm gonna try the second one here. All right.
Yeah.
This feels crunchier.
Yeah, there you go. So you know that there's immediately a difference, right?
Yeah.
And so then next,
like
you're going to take
better.
another bite of each as well. And then you're going to kind of focus on the taste. Is it salty? Does it taste more oily? Does it have more potato flavor?
This one's saltier, more potato flavor.
Very different, right?
Yeah, they're very different. I like this one definitely better. This one's kind of meh for me.
Yeah, all right.
That's my
Everyone has a
official.
different preference. So some people like it much more salty, or sometimes it's too salty. So then there's that. You got to find that fine line of what you prefer.
All right, what did I pick?
All right, so this is your pick?
Here's my pick. Easy pick.
What do you think you picked?
I think I picked the name brand.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're a Lay's guy.
I'm
Joe's
a Lay's guy. All right.
No saving
That's
money
good.
at the store for Joe.
Nope. It's okay. Splurging on my potato chips now. All right.
Kevin Kim, you are so
You're
good.
amazing, Kevin.
Yeah.
Come back and help me taste all my food.
Yeah, and so
It was
cool.
fun.
Congrats on the PhD. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you again, Kevin. Thank you. Welcome back. Ashton Kutchers says he's, quote, lucky to be alive after revealing his battle with a rare autoimmune disease. In a new TV clip, the 44-year-old actor says he lost his ability to see, hear, and walk about 2 years ago while suffering from a form of vasculitis. According to the National Institutes of Health, that's when the immune system attacks veins and arteries, causing inflammation. This can lead to organ damage or even aneurysms. Kutcher says it took about a year to recover. Pretty incredible and pretty amazing that none of us even knew about that. All right, now to our latest look inside the metaverse, where tech-savvy users are now taking their own virtual reality to protest real-world corporations. NBC News Now correspondent Isa Gutierrez has more on this new frontier for social activists.
Cool. Whoa. This is my first outfit change in the metaverse. It's a custom NFT, one of only 48. And unlike other NFTs, it didn't cost thousands of dollars. It's free and was created by Halfway, a group of collaborators who organized one of the first viral protests ever in the metaverse.
We did way better than I thought we were going to do in terms of people participating and being able to log in, being able to receive the wearable.
The demonstration of nearly 40 people took place in Decentraland, right here in Samsung's digital flagship store.
I feel like you'd be kicked out pretty quickly if you went inside a store protesting in the physical world.
Right.
Decentraland is an emerging metaverse space, a 3D virtual world where users explore and can purchase digital real estate. You don't need 3D goggles to get in. You can use a laptop. The group says it was protesting the rapid commercialization of the metaverse.
There's no direct statement against Samsung.
This location was not selected to specifically target the brand, but it was rather a very current embodiment of what we were talking about.
Samsung did not reply to NBC News' request for comment.
Is it possible in the metaverse to put that type of pressure on corporations in the way that we've seen protests in the physical world can?
If a certain brand were to be in the news because their metaverse property has been taken over by protesters for 72 hours, I think that has potentially equaled the impact of a similar thing happening in the physical world.
Social protest mobilization plays a really big role in the physical world. Do you foresee it becoming a big part of the metaverse as well?
I think it could be a good alternative for not being able to protest in the physical world because it comes with too much risk.
Guy Goldenberg, co-founder of Ukraine-based tech group Multi-NFT, knows that risk.
My mother was arrested protesting in a real physical demonstration in Moscow.
His group held a protest against the Russian invasion of Ukraine inside the metaverse.
If she would have been able to do that without having a physical consequence, but still having a social meaning and an impact, that would be amazing.
While groups like Halfway and Multi-NFT experiment in this new frontier, some experts are thinking ahead about what users like activists should watch out for.
In the social media world, people were willing to get their privacy invaded. The metaverse will be worse in that sense because people will get so much of engagement and entertainment and immersive experience that they may be willing to actually compromise a lot of their privacy.
That grim digital reality might be around the corner, but for now, groups like Halfway are more concerned about another hurdle for metaverse protests, the knowledge gap.
It was always a little bit difficult for me to get into that world because it's a very different language, different codes, and I'm not a very technical person.
Inez Piso entered the metaverse for the first time last January to join the protest in Decentraland. She says Halfway trained everyone for more than 2 hours on how to navigate the space, something the group says they'll continue to do ahead of any future projects.
That was maybe more than the protest itself. That was the power of that day.
Isa Gutierrez, NBC News.
Right, now let's take this even a little further. If we can already see these virtual worlds in the metaverse, when will we be able to feel or maybe even smell them? NBC News correspondent Gadi Schwartz has more.
The metaverse today is still just an idea, starting to take shape with games like Roblox or Meta's Horizon Worlds, giving us glimpses of what virtual spaces where people can interact via avatars would look like.
Hey, hi, I'm Gadi.
What about what it could feel like, what in technology speak is called haptics? At Carnegie Mellon's Future Interfaces Research Lab, the name of the game is simple. Trick your brain into thinking you're touching, feeling, and interacting with things that aren't really there with as little hardware as possible.
Whoa, hold on.
And a good place to start is with the sensitive nerve endings in your lips.
Whoa, what the? It's raining on my lips. What is going on?
The receptors on your lips are feeling the acoustic pressure from the ultrasound speakers.
Acoustic pressure from speakers? You're touching my lips with sound?
Yes, with sound. Do you want to try the other demos first?
Another prototype, a puppet-like glove that lets you feel statues that aren't there.
Hello, Mr. Lion.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoa. I can feel the contours of his face.
Or a programming trick that makes you think your finger is touching a button instead of the back of your hand.
Now my spatial awareness is like, okay, so here are my hands, and it's right in the soft spot, which kind of feels like a button.
Exactly. So we're leveraging different parts of the body that could be repurposed for different objects. So you can actually kind of believe that there's something there for you to press.
But while touch seems very real in the virtual world, to fully experience the metaverse, you might have to smell it.
So this is a very sweet, earthy note that we use for our forest formulation.
OVR Technology in Vermont is developing ways to get a whiff of that woodsy forest or salty ocean breeze.
Our sense of smell is influencing what we think, what we feel, how we behave, and even who we love.
CEO Aaron Wisniewski wants a virtual reality with a real-world impact.
I deal with major depressive disorder and anxiety and substance abuse.
Like for Mike, a patient at River Rock Treatment Center who says being able to smell has been helpful.
If there's a strong emotion that you're having, if you can just change what you're seeing and smelling and hearing very quickly, I think that'll change your mood pretty fast as well.
That's because scent is often linked to memory.
You might smell something that is pleasant to you, and you immediately feel a sense of happiness, despite of the fact that you might not be able to pinpoint the memory associated to it.
Dr. David Tomasi is a psychologist who studied the reduction of stress in patients using OVR technology.
If you are aware that the body feels better, the body will secrete those very chemicals you need to make yourself feel better.
Back in Pittsburgh, one of the most mind-blowing innovations envisions a VR future without the headset.
If I go like this, I can feel all the ridges on my finger.
Yeah, so this is the magic of surface haptics.
What?
We're actually adhering your finger to the screen a little bit more, so we're kind of grabbing onto your finger.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so it's a special glass that we kind of developed in a special touch panel, but it actually pulls when you go over these special sections.
All right, hold on. You hold this, you hold the camera here, okay? Because you're not going to believe this. Wild, right? Whoa. Nothing here. Nothing here. Beard. My finger knows there's a beard. I can't describe it, but it feels very, very similar. Like my finger is literally tricked into thinking that I'm touching a scruffy beard.
Virtual worlds that you have to see, smell, and feel to believe.
All right, our thanks to Gadi Schwartz for that. That was fun. And that does it for this hour of Morning News Now, but the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.